I'm here to take you through the exciting projects which we are going to do within the Indian community. One, the first ever ethno-specific Indian aged care in Victoria, and also first ever Indian community centre, homes for Indians in Victoria. This is going to be our exciting new projects which we are going to go through in the next 2 years. My name is Vasan Srinivasan. Those people who don't know me, I'm the current Australian Multicultural Council member and also the Vice Chairman of Mental Health Foundation Australia and the Chairman of Confederation of Indian Australian Associations. In every community there are tall poppy syndrome. The minute I put my community hat on, I would like to achieve something for the benefit of my community. I'm happy to give up my belief at the time. I come from a very tiny village in the southern region of India. I was acknowledged and introduced by the Prime Minister of Australia in my hometown in Chennai at a lunch. I said, what is liberal party? I had Prime Minister Scott Morrison in Vermont South. So Scott Morrison asked me, what is this 108? And you tell me what it is. 9 Hindu temples, 11 Gurudwaras in Victoria, but there was no community centre. But we need a community centre. I was asked to take over FIAV as a president. The Little India was one of my projects. We were instrumental in putting that 5 years parents visa. I served International Education Board in Victoria. I served Police Board in Victoria. I've been through a number of government boards in Victoria. I'm the senior most Indian in a national council. I was the first Indian to serve International Education Board in Australia. I was the first Indian to serve the Police Reference Board in Victoria. I was the first Indian to serve the Lord Mayor's Grants Committee in Victoria. For good India to recognize someone like me, to spend the last few hours and asking me about my past and present and the future, to me that's my recognition. My journey is very, very interesting. If you look at it, I come from a very tiny village in the southern region of India, which is 350 kilometers from Chennai. So my early days, there was no proper schooling. So my father was a village head. So he brought a retired school teacher to the village. Unfortunately, there's no school facilities. So at the age of 7 and 9, we normally leave the village and comes to Chennai. Chennai was a different experience. We went to a normal school. We went through the journey of primary and secondary. Then I did my diploma in engineering. Then I did my AMI right through. By the time I was given a job by Birla Group in Faridabad, Delhi. So I landed in Delhi in 1977, almost finished my AME. Unfortunately, after 3 months, the company decided to relocate to Jaipur. Lost my job. And after a month or so, we couldn't find a job. There's no money to pay for my rent, no money to pay for my food, even though I was actually going to a restaurant to have my meal every morning and evening. It's only 100 rupees a month, you get 3 meals in Delhi those days. And there's no money to pay him, but they were very kind, wait until you find the right job. So there was, outside my room, there was a pawn shop. Lovely Sardarji, very friendly. One day he said to me, Bacha, why are you struggling? Why don't you come with me to Gurudwara? I said, what I'm going to go do there? Do some service. You like doing things for people, go and do it. So he took my hand and landed at Bangla Sahib Gurudwara. So that's where my complete life turned into positive. So within 3 months, as what I felt, people around in the temple were very positive. They were so supportive of me. Even I had a nickname, Madrasi Sikh. So I was very well known within the Gurudwara. And I also served Amritwani studio where Shabad Gurbani is being recorded. One of the volunteers, I used to go there, assist them and support them. So I used to meet various leaders of the Sikh community coming from UK, Canada, Australia, everywhere else. So that three and a half months daily, from morning to evening, if I need to go for an interview, I'll get out and come back. During that journey in the temple taught me how Sikhism is so good. They treat everyone equally. They make sure that everyone gets somewhere. There's community supports and lift them up into different directions. I'm saying in a very positive direction. That really built me up. I want to be stronger. I want to be positive. I want to be like one of them. Now take a risk in life, otherwise you won't achieve anything. So that story from there, the gentleman who came to assist me in the kitchen on Sundays to make chapatis, he used to roll the dough, I used to make chapati. I learned how to cook, I learned how to make chapatis, I learned how to clean the temple. Each and every aspect of my life, the life skills came through that Bangla Sahib. The gentleman who comes to help me, elderly person, and he was talking to me every day. I don't know who he was, never mentioned to me what level he is, how rich he is. Suddenly one morning after 3 months, because he looked at my CV, he understood who I am. Then he said, Vasan, I will see you at this factory Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Just gave me a handwritten address. This is a company, there are 13,000 people working in Faridabad. I didn't know about it. I walked at the front of the factory, huge. I told the chowkidar, I'm here to see so-and-so. There was a big salute. That gave me an idea. The gentleman who called me is not someone small. The journey again turned because one of the person who worked with me at the Bangla Sahib got me to that factory without me knowing. I was guided by someone to go through the factory, and you won't believe this. In one of those doors, my name was written. Vasan Srinivasan, toolroom engineer. I technically cursed myself. There's another one in my name, taken my role. Looks like I may not get the job. They went inside the factory, took me around, and this gentleman, I still remember his name, Malik, he said, come into your office. I said, what do you mean my office? This is your office. So, this is God's gift. I share this everywhere I go. There is someone who doesn't know me, someone worked with me at the Sikh temple, and making chapati got me this far without me even going through an interview. What else God can give you? That's my first victory out of working for charity. Even after that, the next 3.5 years I lived in Delhi, never left one day not going to the temple. I go there, do my work, Saturday, Sunday, always inside. So I believe that this is something which everyone should be able to serve the community, the manner how Sikhs are doing it. I'm a big fan of Sikhism because that really teach a person how to live. I come from a Brahmin family, Hindu Orthodox family. That one way of Vedas and things like that. But this one real life skills. So after working with American Universal Electric India Limited for some time, I had an opportunity to go to Nairobi for the benefit of setting up a tool room in Nairobi, which I did, came back. Then they sent me to Doha, Qatar. When I finished my work at Doha, Qatar, I was at Doha airport, coming back to Delhi. There again, interesting twist in my life. A tall American who was sharing the lounge with me. We were having coffee, chatting about it. And he was asking me, what do you do? Where are you coming from? Then I said I was trained by American Institute in Chennai. And this is my background. I'm a tool room engineer currently, working for an American company in Delhi. He asked me a question which was very interesting. So, if I offer you a job in Singapore, will you come? I said, you don't know me, I don't know you. I can see your passion about what you're doing. I'm on my way to Singapore. We just bought a big factory. It's a company called Panduit, Panduit. We are going to establish the largest electrical and electronic wiring accessories manufacturing unit in Singapore. I said, if you give me that opportunity, I'm happy to come. Here is my card. See me in 3 months. That's the end of it. So back to work in Delhi, Suddenly I got a call from this gentleman to the office. I'm in Singapore next month. If you can, come and see me. I was not that rich enough at the time. Somehow I managed to buy a air ticket and took 1 month leave from the company. I was at the airport and some of them well known to me passing by. First time outside India, on my own, going up, not for the company's work, for my personal journey. While I was passing by the business class, first class, I saw this Sikh gentleman whom I met a number of times during my journey at Bangla Sahib Gurdwara. And he recognized me and acknowledged me, which I was very happy. Someone sitting in first class acknowledging me. Then he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm on my way to Singapore. Someone is offering me a job." He said, "Okay, bacha, we'll speak later." An hour later, he got up and walked towards me, started talking to me. At the end of the journey, before we got down, he came to me saying that I will be waiting outside. When you get out of the flight, I'll talk to you there. So he sat down and told me that how much money you have. I said, "I got $400 US. So that's not enough. I will give you some money in your hand. You tell them this is what you have. Then you see me after immigration. I'll be waiting for you." So the gentleman I met again at the Bangla Sahib Gurdwara, Sikh temple, has given me, without knowing who the hell I am, gave me $5,000 for me to pass through the immigration in Singapore. So again, what do you call this? The divine support coming from somewhere. I got 3 months visa. That made me to settle in Singapore. I was working for a very prestigious, world's 4th largest manufacturing company as a manufacturing manager, and I took over product management, marketing. I was in charge of 16 countries. I used to enjoy my work. Then another turn in my life. 1987, I took 1 month leave, went to India. June, my parents was pestering me, you're almost 30, I want you to get married. I said, okay, this is the time, I've got a very good job, so fine, let's go. So I left that interest with my parents because they know exactly what I want. I know how much I can trust my parents. So that's how I met my wife, Lata. We met on Thursday night. We had a conversation. Sunday we got engaged. I was supposed to be in India 2 weeks after my engagement. On the same night, I got a call from my managing director. "Vasan, we need you in Indonesia tomorrow." Because the Indonesian air show, the gentleman who's supposed to come from Japan, he fell sick, he can't make it. So we want you to support us. So next day morning, I left Chennai. You can imagine what my parent-in-law's house were thinking. This man's supposed to be here for 2 weeks after engagement, he left immediately. So I went to Indonesia. So there, again, another turn in my life. I met at the time who was the general manager of Australia for Penduit. He was there. So 3 days, 4 days we worked together. At the end of the first week, the same gentleman whom I met, Max Anderson, in Dubai airport, came down to Indonesia. So we were having lunch. Des Ross from Australia asked the president of the company, "Can I take him to Australia? We need someone like him. Technically sound, marketing skills and product management knowledge. We're establishing a unit in Melbourne." And he turned around and asked me, "Would you like to?" I said, "Love to go to Australia." "All right, we will prepare everything for you." So within 10 days, my permanent residency was given. The company invested $20 million in Australia at the time. So instead of going to Korea, landed in Australia in October 19th, 1987. So before I left Singapore for good, went back to India, spent 1 week with my wife, came back. I just want to reconnect what happened to me at the Sikh temple and what happened to me at the Singapore airport on arrival. The gentleman who assisted me to settle down in Singapore getting my 3 months visa, which is the senior Rupo, quite a well-known personality in the Sikh community. When I landed here, I didn't know that where he lives, but fortunately, there's a chartered accountant, used to be in the same building where his textile business was. They gave me his contact details when I left Singapore. So I went to see Mr. Upo after I arrived in Australia. I pay my respect to him. This is my entry into Australia. I was working for an American company. I had a very cushy job. I want to give something back to the community. So because here, not like Singapore or Delhi, I was a workaholic. I'm very active. I want to give something back to the community. That's the way I feel and I felt at the time. So I was not married. I was bachelor. I joined the Rotary immediately as soon as I landed. You will not believe the first weekend where I was working at Mordialloc, Chelsea, elderly citizens old age home. I went there, I want to give some time back to them. Saturday, Sunday, I'll go to the kitchen, clean up, help them, take the elderly to the shopping centre in their wheelchairs, etc., etc. Then I got involved with the Hindu Society of Victoria. I was the vice president for some time. I was instrumental in putting the plans together. I was instrumental in bringing the masons from India. I was instrumental for all those idols were manufactured in India, brought over. When everything was done before the construction, I left the committee. I let someone else take over. My job is done. In 1989, at the time, the Consul General, Dr. Rao, and me, we got to know each other quite well. And there are a number of quite actively involved community leaders like Dr. Raman Maral and a few others. They sat down together with me and said, we want to establish a community organization. So we brought 12 community organizations together from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, established ones, as Federation of Indian Associations of Victoria. I was the president later stage, not in the beginning, because I left my job, started my own business. I had distribution business for some time in 92 when my eldest daughter was born. Then I had a printing business for some time. Since 89, I got myself involved with the political organizations here. At the time, actually very well known in the Liberal Party, Michael Kroger, met me at one of the Hindu Society function. Also, there's a gentleman, Member of Parliament, former Minister Julian Bill. They invited me to Parliament House for a coffee. I was thinking, why they're inviting me to Parliament House for a coffee? And second thing, it's an opportunity for me to see how the Australian Parliament looks in Victoria. There, they said to me, we want someone like you who are trying to do something with the community, you're part of the Rotary, why don't you join the Liberal Party? So 89, I got to know this, then worked along, left my job in 92, started my business, then joined the Liberal Party. So in the meantime, my activities was quite heavy into mental health and East West Centre and a few other organizations. I always felt God has given me this strength and ability to give something back to the community, which I enjoy doing it. I always look at positive. I never look at any negatives. If I can make a difference in your life, I'm happy to spend some time with you. That's how I operated right through my life since I came to Australia. In 2006, when India decided to host Commonwealth Games, closing ceremony in Australia, again it was a surprise. I got a call from, at the time, Minister Natwar Singh's office called me. You are highly recommended to be the attaché for the Commonwealth Games closing ceremony in India. When would you like to come to Delhi? So we organized it. Ticket landed by post to my house. Indian government organized it. High Commissioner at the time, Sukla, was very involved in that. So he recommended me. I landed in Delhi, went to Natwar Singh's office. We had that discussion with a few of them. I was appointed as an attaché to oversee the closing ceremony. During that time, which opened my eyes, and you know that we brought almost 3,500 guests from overseas. Dr. Rao, myself, and the High Commissioner was involved in each and every aspect of it. And at that time, I was the president of FIAV, was Shabir Bhai, the former Consul General, appointed by Australia in India, came back to support the community. So we, four of us, played a major role, bringing 3,000 guests from overseas, organized their accommodation, and for closing ceremony, we had 1,100 performers. Shamak Dawar and team came from India. Witchcraft was the one who organized everything with us. You will not believe every day we were at the airport receiving people. We hired 110 coaches, 70 cars, you name it. So again, another surprise thing happened because I was pushing for an Australian Consul General office in Chennai because we had High Commission in Delhi, Consulate General in Mumbai. I was pushing it when Downer was Foreign Minister. Finally, John Howard decided that he wants to open up the consulate office in Chennai. In March, 10 days before Prime Minister's departure to India, I got a call from personal private secretary. Vasan, Prime Minister wants you to come to India with him. I said, for what reason? You know, there is a very good relationship is going on between India and Australia, and the Commonwealth closing ceremony is going to be done by India, and next Commonwealth Games going to be in Delhi. So on that regard, he would like you to travel with him. Was given a golden opportunity by the Prime Minister. I was acknowledged and introduced by the Prime Minister of Australia in my hometown in Chennai at a lunch. What else you can think of? And God is very kind to me in many ways. So Commonwealth Games closing ceremony has given us so much in life. Again, to get the community together. We brought 500 kids from our circle within Melbourne families to be part of the closing ceremony. That's a history. I don't think so we are going to do it again. If you look at it in 2009, I decided that this is the time for me to do something for the community in a big way. I was asked to take over FIAV as a president. Where we are sitting today, the Little India, was one of my projects with John Brumby, who was a former premier, myself, and George Lakakis, who was the chairman of VMC, and Michael King, who was the director of Places Victoria for this, because they did the revitalisation of Dandenong. They sat down with me, what do you want to do? There are 16 shops naturally grown up. Can we brand it as Little India? That's where the Little India started. I put a proposal to the government. I would like to establish a Federation of Indian Music and Dance Victoria to bringing all the musicians from Kashmir to Kanyakumari region in Australia. So that was called Federation of Indian Music and Dance, which I established in 2010. Then I thought there's something else need to be done, because the religious side of it and spiritual side, we need to do something. So we established at the time Federation of Indian Origin Multi-Faith. So we brought 65 organizations together, religious and spiritual groups, and we made Param Jaswal as the president to look after that organization. Then 2014, I had this conversation with Dr. Parekh, Dinesh Parekh, who actually owns each and every piece of this museum. His 50 years of collection, his life, is displayed in this museum currently. The one and only museum outside India talking about Indian history. Dr. Parekh said, I got all this thing. It's currently located in a place where it's not visible to the community. Can we do something? So I took this project to High Commissioner at the time. He agreed that there is a museum needed in this country to show about Indian culture and Indian history. And then I went to Matthew Guy, who was the planning minister at the time and also patron of Federation of Indian Associations of Victoria. He said, that's a great idea, we will support you. So then we went to a local member who is again a personal friend of mine, who worked with me for the benefit of Commonwealth Games, John Pandasopoulos, who was the Minister for Tourism at the time. So he was from the Labour side of politics, Matthew from the Liberal side of politics, and the High Commissioner came. We sat down together. We said, let's fund this project. So 2014, August 15, we established this Museum India. We want to do something better for the community. So in the last 3 years, I took 2 projects in my hand. This is the time to achieve it. Right time, with the right people in positions, the ministers who are connected to me, statewide and nationwide. They approached Scott Morrison when he was a treasurer and Susan Ley when she was the health minister. I would like to establish an ethno-specific Indian aged care in Victoria. They asked me what is the rationale behind. I said 80% of the Indian community living in Victoria currently are in Australia. They're vegetarian philosophy. There are 370 people living in different age care. We did this research and all this thing, so we put it to the Prime Minister, Treasurer at the time. There are 300 over people living in different age care. They are struggling because they are pure vegetarians. Or when they cross 60s, 70s, there's a tendency within the Indian community. They don't eat meat that much. So there is a necessity for us to establish an aged care. And again, there are a number of us, we are sending our parents back to India because it's difficult for them to survive at that age. Because they want to be connected with the religious belief and also the cultural belonging. They are going back, so we want to make sure that we try to do something to host them here, because I'm 63. If tomorrow if I come to that situation, should I leave my children to live? Or should I leave all my friends who have created over 35 years to live? Or I'll leave my grandchildren. No one wants to do that. This is why we proposed to the federal government. Finally, we decided, we put an application. So we went with MyCare, we negotiated with MyCare, which is a formerly Dutch care. We applied to federal government and the negotiation started, how many beds you want? I said I want 108. So Scott Morrison asked me, what is this 108? And you tell me what it is. So I took him through the process, why we Indians believe in 101 and 108. That reflected on 108 beds were approved by the federal government for the benefit of first ethno-specific aged care in Victoria. Again, my view that there are other opportunities rather than draining our own Indian community members. I decided not to ask any money from our community members. I went to Dutch Care to negotiate. I can get the beds, I can get the government support. I want you to help me to build an aged care. The formerly Dutch Care, currently MyCare, agreed to invest $35 to $40 million in this particular project. So we put the planning together. In the meantime, 2014, I've created Australia-India Community Charitable Trust. Because in FIAV, you've got various regions together. Every 2 years, the team changes, the attitude changes. The positive can be negative, negative can be positive. We thought we want to establish something better for the benefit of bigger projects within the Indian community. So AACCT was formed. We took it through the AGM of FIAV to select 8 and 9 well-known Indian community leaders to be part of that program based on the regions where they come from. So that approached the government, approached MyCare. We went through the planning stage. We did 6 or 7 community consultation with the Indian seniors. We established that particular program. We got the planning permit beginning of this year. We announced that the construction will begin within the next month or 2. So it will be 108 beds at Noble Close, Noble Park, constructed and administered by MyCare, supported by Australia-India Community Charitable Trust in bringing culturally and linguistically connected staff to the venue and also bringing clients to the venue to support our community elders, either high care or low care, with vegetarian kitchen and 4 prayer rooms. Not only that, my interest, I don't want that senior to be isolated, our community elders. So we built in within the plan to accommodate 250 to 300 community hall. So we can bring Bisaki into that. We can bring Diwali function into it. So any community functions we can celebrate with our Indian seniors, make them happy in their last days of life. That's one project which we're just going to start soon. Former aged care minister, Mitch Fifield, put MyCare and our organization together. So they are going to manage, they are going to run, because we are not professionals. We want to do the right thing. So our interest to provide every other support and service to our elders within that aged care facility. The next project which we are currently on, I hope this is not the last one. There are many more to do, but I hope I can at least complete this one. Since my arrival in this country, many community leaders, including myself, talked about we need a community center. But none of us could achieve that until 3 months ago. We have, I can say that 9 Hindu temples successfully running well. I would say that 11 Gurudwaras in Victoria successfully doing it, but there was no community centre so far. So again, I went to Scott Morrison through Alan Tudge and Michael Shuka, my local members and local contacts. One thing I forgot to mention, in 2015, I was appointed by Tony Abbott government as the first ever Indian origin be part of Australian Multicultural Council. I'm serving the second term now. What actually assisted our community to go this far, that particular position? Whenever the cabinet meets, whenever parliament is sitting, we are there. This is like advisory, a sounding board for the ministers and the cabinet. Anything related to multicultural communities in Australia. Any policies, any legislations, anything has to go through, it comes to us first. We vet through the process, we approve it. Like what we have done, the parents' visa recently. We were instrumental putting that 5 years parents' visa, which we never thought about it before. So previously, was maximum, they get 3 years. Out of the 3 years, they can only maximum of 1 time, 9 months. They go and come back again after 6 months. So we put it to the minister, which is Peter Dutton. This is not appropriate because the young family relocating from India or China, wherever it is, they got 1 or 2 children. Unless the husband and wife goes for full-time work, you can't maintain the family well in this country. While they are doing it, the child care is an issue. And culture is another thing which we are facing difficulties. If the government can consider to leave parents for 5 years at a stretch without going back, we love you. So Alex Hawke was authorized to go with me to each and every state. Minister for Multicultural and Immigration Minister Alex Hawke. The community consultation was successful. We managed to establish that visa the beginning of this year, before the parliamentary term finished. 5 years multiple entry visa to parents, and they can get another 5 years after they finish the first 5 years. Again, to give a bit of strength for me, I went through a number of organizations over the years in this country. I was in Rotary for 20 over years. I'm a Master of a Masonic Lodge 4 times. The Freemason Society, which is quite well connected, if you call it, the Brotherhood organization. I was also served for 12 years, the most prestigious organization in Victoria, Lord Mayor's Grants Committee. I was the Vice Chairman of Family and Youth Panel. We used to give away $6 million to the charities every year. I was part of a number of other charitable organizations, including Sacred Heart Mission. I was part of a voluntary board for some time. I serve the Mental Health Foundation currently as a vice chairman, currently. And last year, first time I ever implemented Mental Health Month in Victoria. Let me say this, the Indian community came very big along with me. We had almost 85 events during that Mental Health Month. Out of that, 35, 40 from Indian community. From Kashmiri Association, from Punjabi Club, Tamil Association, Telugu, Kannada, Diwali. The entire package came along with me to promote awareness of mental health issues within the communities. In that mental health sector, what I have done, because of my national appearance on the council, I brought 65 nationalities together as multicultural ambassadors to extend not only our strength and learn more from others to grow as one culture. So like that, we have done quite a lot in the mental health sector because of my support from the Indian community. So currently the Mental Health Foundation see that Indian community is a major contributor in each and every state when it comes to mental health. So the current project which we are talking about is the community center project. As I said earlier, many of us tried, we were not successful. In the last 18 months, I took this as a challenge. We need a community center. So I started lobbying all the federal ministers and the state government ministers. State government ministers said, no, our election is over, we don't have money at this stage, see what you could do with the federal. I sat with Alan Tudge, Peter Dutton, Michael Schucker, Scott Morrison, number of senior ministers. Listen, I need something from my community because we are the major contributor. If you look at it, each and every aspect of this nation, we don't go into dole queues that quickly because we got that thing that we want to stand on our own leg. If anyone can give something back to the next door neighbor or feed the next door neighbor, that'll be our community because we got that built in within our culture. Then we started negotiating it. Where do you want it? When do you want to build it? How much money you want it? I said I want $5 million. That negotiation started. 2 weeks before the election, You remember that we came here to announce that 2 days before, the week before on Sunday morning, I had Prime Minister Scott Morrison in Vermont South with me, with Michael Schucker and Alan Tudge. I said to the Prime Minister, this is a high time for you to consider my request. Within 24 hours, I got a call from Alan Tudge. PM wants me to come and announce $2.5 million for the benefit of first ever Indian Community Centre in Victoria. Currently, the process is going on to get the money for the benefit of the community centre. The contract is being drawn. Again, to give credit to Alan Tudge, he has already spoken to a number of councils. So he created an interest with the councils to accommodate Indian Community Centre in their council area. We are talking to Knox Council, we are talking to Dandenong Council, we are talking to Miranda Council. Whichever the council is going to give us some support, either by land or by $500,000 or $1 million, I think that should be able to set up the first Indian Community Centre in Victoria. I hope we can achieve this before 15th of August. That's a plan currently. You know that in every community there are tall poppy syndrome. Fortunately, my positive attitude don't look at it. I do go through lots of criticism. Why you are trying to get money from only one political party, not another political party. Sometimes they say that you are too much close to one side, right wing of politics, not the left wing of politics. But I do connect with both sides of politics. The minute I put my community hat on, I belong to one party. To me, as a community leader, I would like to achieve something for the benefit of my community. I'm happy to give up my belief at the time. As long as I get something back from my community. Yes, we do go through criticism. Sometimes it makes you to think also, am I doing the right thing? So-and-so criticized me. But 2 minutes later, my positive nature comes back. Go ahead. We haven't done anything wrong. We are uplifting the image of the Indian community in Australia. Some people need to sacrifice to achieve that. I'm happy to be one of them. There are many does it. There are some people do more than me quietly in their own section. Even when I talk about the racism against Indian students, I didn't believe in that. I went right out to say that it's not a racism because I know, Australians are lovely people, but it's our responsibility to make them to understand our culture and our nature. The minute they respect that, there is no gap between us. By working through the networks, what I've been through, I served International Education Board in Victoria. I served Police Board in Victoria. I've been through a number of government boards in Victoria. I feel that's my recognition. I don't expect anything from anybody because that's my interest. I want to give something back. So yes, you got a right question. Did the government acknowledge you? Yes, they did. I'm the senior most Indian in a national council. I was the first Indian to serve International Education Board in Australia. I was the first Indian to serve the Police Reference Board in Victoria. I was the first Indian to serve the Lord Mayor's Grants Committee in Victoria and the first Indian as a Vice Chairman of the peak body, National Mental Health Organization. So if you look at where am I today, unless otherwise there is a recognition for my service and my belief, what I'm doing for the benefit of this community. That's my achievement. That's my recognition. And again, more than that, for Good Day India to recognize someone like me, to spend the last few hours and asking me about my past and present and the future, to me that's my recognition. Is that right?